This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter, and I would welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, February 25th, a long time ago, 1964, Muhammad Ali, or how he was known at that time, Cassius Clay, took on Sonny Liston in a major match for the heavyweight title. All that. It was so big that Sports Illustrated named their first meeting in February 25th, 1964, the fourth greatest moment of the 20th century. The first bout was in Miami. Clay was a 7-1 underdog and upset Liston. Liston gave up at the opening of the seventh round. He didn't even come out for the seventh round. The second fight was in 1965, and I'll talk about that too. So anyway, here's the background. Liston was the world heavyweight champion, taking Floyd Patterson in 1962. A rematch 10 months later saw Patterson get KO'd in the first round. Again, so Liston was very intimidating. So, yeah, there were a lot of ferociousness for Sonny Liston and all that. However, Sonny Liston was a thug. He learned to box at the Missouri State Penitentiary, serving time for armed robbery. Basically, his contract was actually owned by someone who was a one-time mob hitman and a senior member of the Lucchesi crime family. All that. With ties to the mafia. Anyway. He didn't like boxing writers. And basically, the writers called him a gorilla or hands like baked bananas and all that. On the other hand, Cassius Clay was a 22-year-old challenger in the spotlight. He won the light heavyweight gold medal in 1960 at the Olympics in Rome. However, there was a lot of problems with him and segregation. And after being refused service at a Kentucky diner and all that, he decided to throw his gold medal into the Ohio River. Cassius Clay narrowly beat Henry Cooper in his last fight, before the first fight with Liston and all that. Those two athletes would be unlikable. All that. Clay was very brash. He says that I will last longer than the Patterson fight, almost the entire first round. And people said the only way Clay could beat Liston was reading the dictionary. Liston was 32 years old at the time. Well, he claimed it. He had to have cortisone shots for his shoulders and all that. He had to deal with heavy icing and ultrasound therapy after always being in pain striking the heavy bag and all that. Liston only fought 3 times between March 61 and the Clay fight, and had first round knockouts. Basically, Liston underestimated Clay. He figured he would take Clay easily. He ran only 1 mile a day when he usually did 5. He drank beer and ate hot dogs that would be with prostitutes in training camp. I've got a secret did a thing, which Bill Cullen, Henry Morgan, and Betsy Palmer, all panelists, predicted Liston would win easily. Good old CBS, I've got a secret and all that. Of course, Clay basically baited the bear. He would taunt and provoke Liston a lot. Said Liston must go in 8. Oh, huge. So basically, the Nation of Islam even got some problems and all that with Muhammad Ali and all that. Ali actually became an Islam, joined the Nation of Islam prior to the fight, but basically kept it secret. So they went a lot. So the way it happened. The tale of the tape at the convention hall in Miami, Florida said this. So he listed the Big Bear from Stanislaus, Arkansas. I thought he was from Missouri. He's an Arkansas boy? Okay. Was 35-1 pre-fight with 24 KOs, 6'1", 218 pounds. Cassius Clay, the Louisville Lip from Louisville, Kentucky, 19-0, 15 KOs, 6'3", 210 pounds. So basically, Clay would kind of look a little muscular. So basically, there was going to be a lot of fights and all that. In the fourth round, Clay looked good. Unfortunately, when Clay returned to the corner, he said there was something burning in his eyes. You can see. So basically, there was something in his eyes. Dundee basically sponged and watered his eyes, trying to cleanse what's there. All that. He actually put, Angelo Dundee put a pinky in Ali's eye, and then I put it in my eye, and it burned like hell. The referee, Bernie Felix, almost gave Clay a disqualification loss. The challenger didn't want to fight because, he couldn't see. But Dundee basically said, run. And Clay said that, he circled and moved, and he survived. But Clay's sight cleared by the sixth round. Basically, yeah. That there was a lot of takes on what happened in Liston's corner. Liston couldn't believe he was losing to Clay, so basically he gave up in a sense. And Liston spit out his mouth guard. However, one of his biographers, Liston's biographer, said that Liston's shoulder was paralyzed by the end of round 6, and his corner had to make the decision end the fight despite Liston's protests. As the bell sounded for the 7th round, Clay basically danced his alley shuffle, and Howard Cosell, broadcaster ringside, said, wait a minute, Sonny Liston is not coming out. Liston failed to answer the bell, and Clay got in on TKO. The bell was actually level on the scorecards, by the way. Liston was the first world champion since Jess Willard in 1919 to retire in a stool during a heavyweight fight. Title fight. Clay basically was brash with his record, saying, I'm the greatest, and I shook up the world, and all that. And then Clay announced a couple of days later he was member of the Nation of Islam, so he would change his name to Muhammad Ali. All that. He wanted to be Cassius X, but March 6th, the man, Elijah Muhammad, said that he would be Muhammad Ali, and that would be a big name. Ed Sullivan would state on his show in March of 64, I saw the Liston Clay fight. It was a stinker. I swear the Beatles could beat the two of them. No kidding. That. And then there was a lot of questions saying that did Liston's corner deliberately blind Clay? It doesn't really matter. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But the fact of the matter is the plan failed miserably, and Clay won the fight anyhow. So anyway, Liston said he had his shoulder problems and all that. He healed the shoulder in the first round, and he got a torn tendon in his left shoulder. All that. A lot of people said his shoulder injury was legitimate and all that, and was swelled and all that. And some people even said that there was a fix because Liston had been with the mob, and basically Liston was told that you get a better pay date to help the mob if you just throw the fight. But there was no evidence to submit a fix, because why would Liston have done that in the 7th round? He probably would have done it earlier. So yeah, there was a lot of things. So, in the meantime, Allie and Liston would fight at the Central Maine Youth Center in Lewiston, Maine. Why would they have a fight in like a small, dingy place? So anyway, the Louisville Lip was 20-0. I do believe that he never fought. I don't think those two fought after that. Well, Ali slimmed down to 206. Liston was still 215. Anyway, following Clay's upset over Liston, both fighters were embroiled in controversy. Clay announced he joined the Black Muslims, which was a hate group against white people. It was Cassius X, but then was renamed Muhammad Ali. Martin Luther King said that when Cassius joined the Black Muslims, called his own Cassius X, he became a champion of racial segregation. As for Liston, he was arrested March 12th for speeding, careless driving, concealed well, and driving without a license. And then he was driving 122 kilometers per hour at a residential zone. And there were empty bottles of vodka in the car. All that. So anyway, it was just weird. There was a rematch clause with those two. And all that. And people said that Liston had more to gain financially from losing the fight, and fighting a rematch than he did for winning. But I don't know. It was weird and all that. When Ali and Liston fought a rematch, the WBA, who did not allow fight contracts with rematch classes, stripped Ali of the title and dropped Liston from the rankings. So basically, the WBC and a few others said Ali would still be champion. Pressed by the WBA, which had every U.S. state except for California, Nevada, and New York, people were reluctant to license the rematch and all that. They actually decided to have the rematch at the Boston Garden in November 1964, which would have been nice. Liston was a favorite. And all that. Liston trained hard and best shape of his career. Ali would taunt Liston. However, 3 days before the Boston fight, on Friday the 13th, no less, Ali actually needed surgery for hernia, so the bout had to be delayed. And the date was set for May 25th and all that. Liston again had an arrest on his record. Boston had second thoughts and decided to pull out 18 days before the rematch. So basically, they needed a new location quickly. And Governor John Reed of Maine stepped forward. They said Lewiston is a mill town 140 miles north of Boston. And they got it. A junior hockey rink, as it is. It's called the Androscoggin Bank Coliseum, home of the Lewiston Maniacs of the Quebec League. Lewiston was the smallest city to host a high heavyweight title belt since Dempsey's fight with Tom Gibbons in Shelby, Montana in 1923. Basically, that fight they built this 80,000 seats thing in Montana, trying to get everyone around, but there were a lot of fans. Didn't know that. Didn't like it all that. The atmosphere was tense because of Ali's embrace of the Nation of Islam. Malcolm X was assassinated before the fight, and the men arrested for the slaying were members of the Nation of Islam. People said that Ali could have been killed by Malcolm X's supporters in retaliation, but they had a 12-man guard around Ali and all that. Security was unprecedented. This is 1965. So anyway, that was basically a phantom. We know the phantom punch, like Liston threw a jab and then Ali basically had a fast right and Liston went down on his back. People said that Ali didn't really have a punch and all that. Jersey Joe Wolcott, who was a former world heavyweight champion and made referee, had a hard time getting Ali to a neutral corner. But of course, Ali standing over Liston with that photo is one of the greatest sports photos of all time. Liston had problems and all that. So anyway, Wolcott didn't know what to do because the timekeeper, did not have a microphone, and Wolcott couldn't hear McDonough and for anything. McDonough did not bang on the canvas or motion with his fingers, the number count. Basically, Liston got up, Wolcott wiped his gloves and let the two fighters go off. But then he learned that the timekeeper was waving hands on us, so it was over. Liston went down at 144 and got up at 156. So the fight stopped at 212. McDonough and Fleischer were wrong in their interpretation of how the rules apply. Under the rules, the timekeeper is supposed to start the count at the time of a knockdown. The referee's duty is to get the boxer scoring the knockdown to a neutral corner, pick up the count for the timekeeper, and continue to allow for the knockdown boxer. Under Maine's commissioner, the referee was authorized to stop his count if a boxer refused to go to the proper corner. So basically, yeah, that's what happened. But anyway, fans thought it was a fix. It was the phantom punch and all that. Ali wasn't sure what happened if he had hit him, all that. George Chuvalo actually climbed through the rope saying that there was a fix and he was restrained. Chuvalo figured that, his eyes were turning from side to side. When a fighter's hurt, his eyes roll up. Some people said the punch didn't happen or all that. The trouble is that Liston had issues and all that. So yeah, there's still a lot of things that happened. So yeah, there were a lot of issues and all that. Yeah. So anyway, that was huge. Now, there were reasons why Liston could have dove. One is that the Mafia forced Liston to throw the fight as part of a betting coup. There was another reason that Liston bet against himself because he owed money to the Mafia and he would have collected easily. Number three is a couple of members of the Nation of Islam visited the training camp of Liston and told Liston they would kill him if he won the rematch. And four, an offer says that Nation of Islam members kidnapped Liston's wife and son. And basically, Liston was told to lose the fight. And five is that Liston was afraid he would be shot by fellows in Malcolm X as they tried to kill Ali in the ring. All that. But basically, there was a issue. However, in the analysis, the fact that Liston didn't complain about the clear breach of boxing rules, being declared knocked out without a count, and Ali's state of bewilderment, saying that, did I hit him? So that basically he did. Basically, it actually gave Ali mystique and ruined Liston a lot. All that. Liston actually did well before his death. He won 15 of his last 16 bouts. All that. So basically, Liston was decent and all that. Unfortunately, though, by the time he died in 1971, he was portrayed in a terrible way. So anyway, yeah. Ali Liston thing. They did. My sources are not telling me that there was actually a tribute to the Ali Liston thing when Homer becomes a boxer in season 8 and he beats up hobos and all that. That he did one win by punching out like Ali over Liston. But anyway, Ali basically cemented his legacy as a brash talker and a person who could back up his words and all that. Unfortunately, he did turn his back on conventionalism by being part of the Nation of Islam and becoming hatred. But that's how it goes. I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.